EverQuest revolutionized the MMO genre when it released in 1999. But I'm standing in 2025, so I spent a whole day finding out if this legendary MMO can still impress a newbie today. As soon as the game launches, we run right into our first snag: server selection. EverQuest offers a number of ways to play, all of which mean nothing to someone who's new. We have multiple flavors of progression servers, from Resource Hunter to Time Locked. Each progression server has their own listed expansion, and then there's the whole column for something called a True Box, with options like Yes, No, or Relaxed 3. Either way, I decided to play it safe with a standard rule set server. Next up is my favorite part of any RPG, character creation. And immediately, you can see just how far ahead of their time EverQuest was. You have 12 different races, from classics like the hundreds of garden variety elves, to the more unique entries like Frogman. These races, of course, restrict which of the 16 different classes you are able to play. And I can't help but feel like I've seen this system replicated somewhere else.
Although I have no idea.
Design-wise, these armors have that 80s nerd fantasy written all over it, but hey, I appreciate the consistency of it all. Anyway, I go with Half-Elf Ranger, and with EverQuest being as influential as it is, I'm sad that no one has stolen this great in-game nameplate feature. I also appreciate the massive text lore entries for pretty much everything you can select here, but I got a review to shoot. Appearance details are a little bit weak. I think there's like 3 hairstyles for me to choose, and none of them are exactly dashing. Unfortunately, while I love everything so far, my attempts to click on tutorial only to be met with absolutely nothing is pretty much the least subtle foreshadowing a review YouTube video could ask for. Let's embark into the world of EverQuest as Rune, the half-elf archer. The first thing the game shows you is a guiding system called the Hero's Journey, outlining a list of tasks to point you along all the way to level 85. The next thing the game does is present you a million tabs, buttons, and menus, and just says, go. I'm gonna be honest with you, EverQuest is easily the bumpiest learning experience I've ever had to go through, and here's why. My only guiding light, the Hero's Journey, tells me to introduce myself to Emissary Tinwin. Walking around is very familiar to any other MMO, easy enough, but what about talking? I try clicking, left-click targets, right-click is consider, which is more or less a how bad would a fight with them go. I try to click on the little status box, which gives me options like change the alpha channel of the window. Cool, but not really what I need. I open the EverQuest menu and scroll down 18 different submenus to find the help page. Article 2.2 is communication, but most of it is player-to-player communication like chat channels or out-of-character talking. A quick browse of all help articles, and none of them seem very useful to me. I even tried to channel my history with text-based MMOs and try out a few chat commands. No dice. So I have to do the thing I hate most, break my own immersion to look up online. Turns out you have to hail them with the H key. At the very least, it means we have our next task, to train with our guildmaster and meet with initiate Dakan. So let's take in the scenery. It's always hard to tell how modernized an old game has become, but EverQuest today hits that perfect old school vintage look. Character animations are smooth, the flora and fauna are genuinely impressive. The only negative here is the imposing wall of blackness keeping me confined to my render distance prison. Next up, we gotta talk about this map. I don't know what kind of fantasy game EverQuest is supposed to be, but I'm pretty sure we had more detailed maps back in the Stone Age. Either way, I continue down the path to the Guildmaster Hall, where every master is quite literally just hanging around. Apparently not even a guildmaster can afford a chair or two. After parsing through the sea of teal names in search of the ranger tutor, and watching the text nameplate fade in and out of the nearby wall, we find the ranger tutor who can upgrade our skills. I do get a little kick out of the level names, like sure I have level 10 disarm, but archery? Awful. Next, we need to meet with Initiate Dakan at Crescent's Reach. Most notably, the map doesn't exactly point out where that is. And even when I do end up finding it, it's the massive hub city after all, Initiate Dakan doesn't appear on the map. By absolute sheer luck, while meandering about and reading my map, trying to type in using the search tool, I managed to walk right by him. Now, anytime you hail an NPC, you continue their dialogue with the hyperlinks, leading me to a selection of beginner quests. I grabbed the Gather Venom Sacs from Snakes in the Hollow, since I saw them on my stroll in. And so begins the process of Kill X quests. Now, I've mentioned my hate for this type of questing about 5 times now on the channel, but I didn't realize that they predated the worst offender in World of Warcraft. You can watch that video after this one, by the way. Despite being basic and boring, at least it gives me the opportunity to explore combat. It's an old MMORPG, what did you expect? You have a hotbar with a ton of programmable buttons, and most of the early combat is numbers versus numbers. Strangely, all combat information like damage dealt are tucked away in separate combat menus, and with about 500 buttons on screen, I miss out on it for the first few encounters. After locating and exterminating the snake populace, and watching 2 guards molting into one, I returned to Dakan. EverQuest can't make anything easy, so hailing gives me the same generic starter of quest dialogue. Instead, you have to open your inventory, drag the items, and complete the offer on a new, strangely small screen. Either way, quest complete, and we get 28% experience. Unfortunately, then we get more shenanigans. I try to take a quick break, but logging out means camping for 30 seconds. No problem with this, probably for balancing and roleplay reason. Then I get a reset device failed warning, and the game opens up a new browser tab right to their subscription page. Then, to rub it all in, when I do log back in, I get a reward prompt from the snake quest that, for some reason, didn't pop up earlier. Jank aside, let's focus on the hero's journey quests. For some reason, it tells me to like the video. I'm not sure which button does that. After meeting with the innkeeper, she directs me to meet with the city council's aide, on the quote, 2nd level of the city. Unfortunately, the few staircases I do find don't lead to the 2nd level. Now, enter this suspiciously elevator-looking structure. I try standing on it, no dice, try clicking on this thing, still nothing. But when I got the quest to visit the aide, I was given a letter to deliver, which automatically goes onto your clicks. So, as I mouse over the suspiciously elevator button-shaped device, nothing happens. This confluence of factors means that I spend almost 5 minutes trying to figure out how to go up. The aide has us find and read the charter in the library. I stumble upon a combat training room, kill 10 dummies. This takes me about 6 minutes. I encounter another player who, much like me, seems to be struggling with the elevator. Then I stumble across a weapon shop. EverQuest has a strange monetary system. Things are listed by their platinum value, despite platinum being the most valuable unit. This means a cheap item doesn't cost you 4 silver and 1 gold, but rather 0.037 platinum. Again, nothing can be simple around here. But now EverQuest finally throws me a bone. I spot the Finder tool, which can be used to help guide you to named NPCs by giving you a little breadcrumb trail. And while I complained about the Kill X quests earlier, some quests are actually really fun, like this love letter trail, which has you delivering gifts of love from one NPC to another, only to witness every single one of them get shot down. Tough. In the end, we earn one of the love amulets as a gear upgrade. But then the aide gives us a quest to seek out a hidden room on the top floor of the city. I stumble about until I find what looks to be a hidden room. Only problem is, it's a massive chamber filled with extremely overleveled skeletons. In the back is a guarded room, which clearly must be the one I'm looking for. And after accidentally aggroing one of the enemies, and noticing that I can outwit even the strongest of skeletons, I decide to take a very calculated risk. Unfortunately, this boss fight looking room is clearly not the right one, with the big bad even saying it's waiting for someone else. Unfortunately, on my way out, what just happened? First, I get knocked unconscious, then immediately regain consciousness, forcing me into first person, then immediately get properly murdered. Worst of all, my respawn point, all the way back to the start. Upgrade some one-hand slashing, from awful to feeble. And even though I don't have a bow yet, I may as well grab some archery. Also on the run back, I explore a bit, finding a pretty waterfall spring, finding that you can walk right up sheer cliffs. Oh, and there's also a dragon. But I'm far too weak for any quest it can offer me. The Khan also has a quest to kill diseased spiders and gather mushrooms, so out the other gate I go. The mushrooms are pretty funny. Unlike most games where you can right-click to collect, instead you gotta square up and beat the crap out of them. The spiders are a different story. Now, the guide says to lure out diseased spiders by killing healthy ones. The problem is, my bouts with the crevice spiders nearly end in my death. I tried going again, this time with a restoration potion on my side, but upon returning, there's only one other quest that I haven't tried yet, a short little delivery chain quest, ending with the original quest giver being polymorphed into a sheep, a free shield, and the acquisition of my long-awaited bow. Again, this means fumbling around my inventory. Instead of trying to find the right slot out of 25, I try the drop here to auto-equip. Of course, this does absolutely nothing. At which point, I see that I need to acquire some arrows. So I meet with the Fletcher, one arrow for 1/1000th of a platinum each. And so I march on to try once more. Unfortunately, even with the bow and arrow equipped, my range attack button doesn't seem to do anything. Even unequipping my sword so my bow shows in my hand doesn't do the trick. Next course of action is to try and buy healing potions. I stop by the alchemist room and decide, hey, why not try one of the production skills? But unfortunately, alchemy is restricted to only shamans. How about a mercenary? I've seen a few of them hanging around, including a player with one at their side. Well, it's not left click or right click, and it's not H to hail, so I'm completely at a loss. At this point, I really don't know what to do. I try the upper floor again, this time trying to lure a warden to help me. Thanks for the help, boss. Then I stumble upon 2 spawns of diseased spiders. A cool find, but Dekan, why would you lie to me? So I decided about 2.5 hours played to go explore the world. Because even if the systems are a little jank, anyone can admire cool monsters and pretty landscapes. And right away, I am rewarded for my decision. Pond full of alligators, a chest which I try to open mushroom style, no dice. As I head east, I find the massive overworld map, which, why can't the normal map look this nice? Then the next zone. First off, it completely bricks my map, even without the height filter. And after spotting a nasty bog rat to the left and a moss viper to the right, I decide I've strayed a bit too far. In the original zone, I spot a curious cave with the warning, "This is very dangerous territory for someone your level." And after delving in, yeah, it's pretty bad. Luckily, these folks are friendly, and there even seems to be content like, I don't know, raids, which of course I cannot do yet. But I do stumble upon a portal, which leads me to a completely new zone, with a massive dragon. This dragon spouts about 500 hours worth of lore reading content, but the very ominous watcher in the distance catches my eye. To which I have to say, am I having fun in EverQuest? Exploring this wondrous world and spotting all sorts of creatures in the wild? Yeah, the game is incredibly janky, and this creepypasta man floating towards me is intimidating, and the game systems are so incredibly unintuitive and hostile, I can't even figure out how to climb the ladder to leave this cave. Ultimately, as I hit the 3-hour mark, my biggest impression is that this is a wonderful world, held back by systems all but completely obsoleted by the passage of time. Maybe there was a manual when you bought the game all those years back, or maybe if the tutorial button actually did something. But for now, EverQuest. Equal parts old school jank, old school charm, with the most unapproachable learning experience I've ever encountered. If you enjoyed, consider supporting me directly on Patreon.